Once the money is sent, you will never get it back. Tired of all the AI hype? That's why you need to get my new free weekly newsletter. Sign up now at splashofai.com. I've tried a lot of antivirus software over the years, and when something better comes along, I switch. That's why I've moved to WebRoot Essentials. WebRoot Essentials is a cloud-based AI-powered antivirus app that was designed to evolve with today's threats. It's fast, lightweight protection that works across all my devices without slowing me down. If you need another reason to switch, get this. WebRoot Essentials recently ranked #1 in independent Passmark performance studies against 9 other brands, like Norton, McAfee, and even Microsoft Defender. The study found that WebRoot Essentials scans 6 times faster, uses far less memory, and takes up 33% less space on your computer. I've seen the difference WebRoot has made for my devices, and now you can too. My listeners get 62% off WebRoot Essentials at webroot.com/Kim. Get the #1 ranked antivirus protection for just $19 a year right now at webroot.com/Kim. Webroot.com/Kim. Go now while you're thinking about it. Webroot.com/Kim.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
Well, good morning. Happy Thursday. Glad to be with you this morning. Nathan Martin, Stephen Maxwell sitting in on Talkback. It is, as the announcer says, Sunlight's longest running live talk show, radio talk show here in Central Louisiana, and we're just glad to be a part of it, aren't we, Stephen?
Oh, we're glad to be here with you all on our Friday.
It is Monday, Thursday. If you are up on that type of thing, faith being important to you as it is to many of us. It is the Thursday before Easter, commemorating the Last Supper of Jesus with his disciples and marking the institution of what is commonly called the Eucharist or communion. Maundy comes from the Latin word mandatum, which means a commandment. So that's why, if you recall, Jesus commanded them to love and serve one another, and there will be events taking place in churches today. And of course, tomorrow, Good Friday, and then your silent Saturday before the celebration of Easter on this coming Sunday. Passover began a couple nights ago, and so the coincidence or the coinciding of Easter and Passover are certainly very important to those of faith, and we encourage you to participate. In fact, I would love to hear today if your church has anything special going on for Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday, or Easter. Give us a call and invite people to come participate with you.
I saw one, not all churches do something on Thursday, but First United Methodist, they are having an event today. I think it's at 6 o'clock. I'll get confirmation on that. But it's like they're in their, I don't know what the room is, but like where they have their stage and everything. And it's like a circle kind of set up, and they're going to do all sorts of stuff. So
which one? Which Alexander? Or
First United Methodist in Ellick.
Alexander,
so
very nice.
Jackson.
Yeah, on Jackson Street. Very nice facility. That's good to know. Again, growing up, we weren't from a liturgical type church background. So I would ask people, is it Monday or is it Thursday? Because they talk about Maundy, Thursday. But obviously coming to understand the Latin phrase, the commandment, mandatum. If you remember, Jesus said, a new commandment I give you. And that was on this day that's being celebrated. So some churches practice foot washing. That's not an uncommon thing to whether it's amongst the clergy only or participants. Many people will be celebrating communion. Some churches will strip the altar bare at the end of the service today to symbolize Jesus being stripped of his dignity as he went to the cross. And then there are some who are celebrating Tenebrae services where candles are extinguished to signify the coming darkness of Good Friday. So those are activities that are taking place around church traditions. We'd love to hear about your church tradition regarding Easter. We have a phone call. We'll look forward to hearing who's on the line. I'll push the button. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Stephen and Nathan.
Good morning, Stephen. Good morning, Nathan. How are y'all?
Doing great, sir. How are you?
I am better than I deserve. We are having at Journey Church on Saturday evening and Sunday a 10,000 egg Easter hunt and free family photos if you come to church. And I wanted to pass that along to y'all. I heard y'all talking about that this morning.
Yeah, I wanted to hear. So is it 10,000 eggs at each time?
That's a good question. I'm not going to start this off by telling an untruth, but I know it's a 10,000 egg Easter hunt, and we're going to be giving free family photos away. And so we'd love to have as many people as possible. We like to celebrate Easter like everybody else, and I just hope that everybody goes somewhere on Sunday.
Yeah, so I mentioned either yesterday or the day before, a couple of years ago, I attended one of your Saturday Easter services and how refreshing that was. And so appreciate you calling in. Do you know the times of the event, Saturday and Sunday?
I know Sunday it's 8:30, 10, and 11:30. I have to get back with you, Nathan. I'll send you a Facebook message about the Saturday event. I'm not sure exactly what time, but I'll get back with you on that.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we definitely want to let people know about it. I've seen some of the yard signs around. You're invited.
For those who don't know, where is it?
Oh, this is Journey Church. Yeah,
Okay.
Tell us where Journey Church is on Donahue Ferry.
On Donahue Ferry, kind of right before you get to the old Southern Link building on the right. You can't miss it. We'll have, we're actually going to have a bunch of extra golf carts to help get people in, and we're going to be cooking hot dogs and doing all that kind of stuff. So it's the big church on the right on Donahue Ferry before you get to the old Southern Link building.
Yeah, so go down the hill from Edgewood Drive, turn, if you hit the Edgewood Donahue intersection, go downhill, don't go uphill. And you're maybe a quarter of a mile down there on the right.
Yes, sir.
Great. Well, thanks for the call. We appreciate that.
Sure,
nice to hear what's happening over at Journey Church, Pastor James Greer and the good people over there. And do that. Give us a call, 318-442-8255. Let us know what's happening in your faith community this weekend. I think it's wonderful to see the diversity, the variety, the great opportunities. I'm seeing a lot, some of the churches have their yard signs out inviting. I saw a really nice on the Nextdoor app. Do you use the Nextdoor app?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I love the Nextdoor app. It's a great little app. I'll tell you about it in a second. But someone wrote just this really nice, the members of such and such, I forget which church it was. I think it was First Presbyterian Church on Windermere would cordially like to invite you to join us for Easter. Just a real nice, friendly invitation, nothing pizzazzy or fancy, but very nice to have those invitations. And if you're not a churchgoer, this is a good weekend to try one out. Let's go back to the phone line. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Stephen and Nathan.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I do want to talk about Easter, but before that, I wanted to touch on something from yesterday. That last caller that is so he's so knowledgeable, and but he seemed to intimate to me that the space program is a boondoggle, and so I remember I was 6 years old when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the moon. And we watched at my aunt's house. She had a big Zenith console TV that took up half the wall, but the screen was only about 25 inches. But they kept saying, "Back up, Dave, back up." I was drawn to it. Mm-hmm. And there's an excellent podcast called Space Rocket History Podcast. This guy covered it all, and I haven't listened to it for years, because once we got past the Apollo program, I didn't go into the shuttle program. But anyways, there's a reason they chose Florida. These are flying bombs, and they want them to be over water where they'll be less apt to hurt someone. When they take off, you need over a pound of thrust to lift a pound of weight. But shortly after takeoff, they do a roll maneuver so that they lay over on their side. So now gravity is pulling on them at an angle. So the thrust actually you only need about a few ounces of thrust to hold up the weight. The rest is going to speed to get to escape velocity. Now, the Earth rotates towards the east. So if they went to the west, they would have to change communication bases really often, especially in the 60s when they started. They had ground bases so when they arc to the east, now they stay over those points longer for communication, telemetry, and everything that they need to keep that thing flying. So there's a reason they chose Florida. Now, it wasn't just to help Kennedy get elected or to pay off Kennedy for being elected. There was a reason they do that. And this coming mission to get to the moon, this is serious stuff. I know we had these accords, and maybe not everybody heard about them. They covered it really well in Space Rocket History. But, they said that oh, space is for everyone. We're going to demilitarize space. Well, that's bull. About 15 years ago, they found out when Russia was launching some rockets to get to the space station, they noticed something in the background. And as they would launch that rocket, they launched other things that they determined were killer satellites to kill other satellites. They do it with EM pulses. They do it with bullets. Just bullets in space are very effective. Anyways, so, they're trying to get to the moon before the Chinese because there's a place they found on the moon that has, on the poles, they have ice. Mm-hmm. And where you have ice, you have hydrogen. And where you have hydrogen, you have rocket fuel. And where you have rocket fuel, you can launch rockets. And,
it's got to be easier to launch from the moon than from the Earth, right? Into deep space?
Oh, yes. 1/6 of gravity. 1/6 of gravity. Yes. So there's all kind of reasons that we are benefiting from this space program. And, yes, when he points out, our last caller, the caller yesterday, when he points out government waste and fraud and abuse, I think he's 94.7% correct. But on this one, whereas there may be some, I know they spread around the building of the rocket to every state. They're trying to buy votes. But those things need to be built because we don't want to be in second place in space because that will make our future generations much more vulnerable to the dictates of people. Who thinks China, when they get there, is going to give it to everybody else? I don't. And so I think we need to be there first, and we need to be established, and we need to be ready to defend it. Anyways, on Easter, science, modern technology has made, in my estimation, Darwinism untenable. It's just untenable. We know from the fossil record that species come into existence. They don't change in other animals. And so that makes what we're gonna celebrate not just religion, but truth. Because every culture on the planet has a story about creation, has a story about a savior, but there's only one that got up from the dead. And I know people say, "Oh, how do you know?" Well, how do you know Genghis Khan was real? We look at the evidence. How do you know George Washington was real? We look at the evidence. The Jews held all the power civilly, and the Romans held all the power militarily. All they had to do was produce a body. And do you think the Romans would have been hesitant at all to beat or kill enough Jews to find that body? And look, it wasn't that he just popped up and they couldn't find it. Oh, look, the tomb's empty. No, he was out. He walked with them for 40 days. He was seen by over 400 people alive. Now, the Jews were very aggressive when they first went at Passover, when they took him and seized him and killed him. They weren't after he helped them catch fish and told them which side of the boat to fish on. Why? Man, people got out of the ground that they had their funeral for years before. The tombs were emptied. And that had to be unsettling to a religious Jew who was steeped in his own self-righteousness, but now he sees people who he knows were dead and now they're coming back to life. And then they see him who they pierced, and he's alive. So I imagine they backed off of him until way up into the book of Acts. But anyways, we need to think about these things logically. There is more evidence for the resurrection of Jesus Christ than for my being real right now, except that I can go over there and knock on your door. Other than that, we need to realize this is our Creator. This is who we will see when we close our eyes. And if there's somebody else with a better evidence story, man, introduce me to him. But I don't know one. And so, anyways, this is I love Christmas, and we have fun with Christmas. But look, this is the real thing. This is our Super Bowl. And we need to apply logic to it. I know we're almost at the break, but man, he got up from the dead. He wasn't raised by anyone else. That death couldn't hold him. Yeah. So anyways, I don't want to wait too long, but this is great. Y'all have a great weekend and a happy Easter.
Appreciate that very much. I once heard a scholar say there's more evidence for the historical evidence for the resurrection than there is for the existence of Julius Caesar, and nobody doubts Julius survived or lived. So there you go. Appreciate the call as always, and we would love to have more calls. Let us know what your church is doing for Easter or what Easter means to you. 318-442-8255.
What is the moon landing real?
BM Talkback.
That was
Stephen,
resurfacing yesterday.
right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. What a difference a day makes. Stocks ended higher Wednesday with the S&P advancing another 0.7%. And then President Trump vowed to hit Iran harder, and that's driving down stock futures. The index now poised to lose more than 1% at opening. Crypto's also falling across the board, with Bitcoin trading around $66,000. And oil is rising, with Brent crude close to $110 a barrel. Shares of Eli Lilly are up nearly 4% in pre-market trading after the FDA approved its new weight loss pill, Foundeo. It'll be available on Lilly's direct-to-consumer platform on Monday, but prices will vary depending on dosage and insurance coverage. It's also said to put more pressure on Novo Nordisk, which launched its obesity pill earlier this year. And in case you missed it, SpaceX has confidentially filed for an initial public offering, bringing the company closer to delivering the biggest ever listing. It's seeking a valuation of more than $1.75 trillion. Monica Ricks, Bloomberg Radio.
Good morning. Our Thursday, a mostly cloudy day. 85 will be the afternoon high. We're going to say a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the afternoon and early evening hours. And again, the wind factor gusting as high as 20 today. It's going to be out of the south. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll go down to 68. And then tomorrow is 70% chance of rain, highs 85. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Grayson.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
Now back to Talk Back, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
I love these.
Welcome back. We love being with you. Well, I'm sorry, I turned on the mic just as you were saying.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
I was just saying I like shows where I have nothing to talk about. I can just ramble on.
That's because you were a fan of Seinfeld, right?
That's right.
The show about nothing, right?
Yeah, I just want to hear everyone's random thoughts.
You were talking about the moon launch a while ago, or the Artemis 2 launch to orbit the moon, and there was this. I was trolling X this morning. I woke up a little extra early this morning for whatever. Just randomly woke up at 4 o'clock, and
that's the worst.
Yeah, so I decided to try to do some show prep, right? Scroll X, and there was one that said, I think it was a CNN reporter was asking this like 11, 12-year-old boy, so what makes you so excited about being here to watch the launch? And the little boy goes, and I got to bleep it. He goes, it's the bleeping moon.
Oh my.
That was his answer.
God.
It's the bleeping moon. And obviously there was a word there instead of bleeping, but it was pretty funny to like, he looked at that grown adult like, don't you get it? It's the moon. So it kind of is a big deal. And I appreciate Dave calling and talking about that. I heard on one of the newscasts this morning that when Artemis 2 reached its peak velocity, get this, it was traveling. I could swear they said at 5 miles per second.
Golly.
5 miles per second. Every time I speak, another 5 miles.
Wow.
That's stunning.
Well, we do have a local tie to it.
Yeah, I saw you did that story on the Peabody graduate. Tell us about him.
So Peabody alum and LA Tech alum, Dustin Coleman, was one of the people who worked on the Artemis 2 that launched yesterday, like we've been talking about. He's a structural analyst. He's at a high level of responsibility for making sure the vehicle physically survives the entire mission from liftoff to space.
Kind of important, right?
Pretty big deal. That's a big deal. And I have the picture of him on my Facebook page if you want to check it out. His sister is the principal over at Peabody too.
Tell me that's
Miss
not
Ford.
cool.
So they are an awesome family, and she does a good job over there as well. So pretty cool story. Glad we could tie it back to home, and congrats to him. And I'm sure he has much more in the future.
Well, that's just such a great story. I saw you post that, and anytime you have a local connection to something, it's just really, really cool. So yeah, and you talk about structural engineer or structural integrity and safety. There's a reason they pay such close attention to the minor details. I mean, you look at that horrible Challenger explosion. Was it 1984 or 85? That occurred, and they said the whole thing came down to, I think, to some frozen O-rings that just were that failed in liftoff. So,
yep, they And then was it the Columbia one too?
That was 86. Now that I look back. That was the January 28th, 1986. Horrible tragedy. And then was the Challenger the Columbia, was that on the re-entry where it disintegrated on coming back down? I think parts were found all across western Louisiana.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was like 2003, maybe.
So sad. But hopefully we got some callers want to talk about some good news. Let's go back to the phone line. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Stephen and Nathan.
Well, I have good news for you.
We like good news. Give it to us.
All right. Well, just a day early. So at any rate, on Saturday morning, we have our regular breakfast on the lake at Bulow. And so I was just trying to get that inserted with all the other good news. And so all you want to eat for $10 and drink. And so it's pretty hard to beat. And the ambiance and so on for the location.
Yeah, when you say we, you're talking about, is that the Experimental Aircraft Association?
Correct.
I've been to that breakfast many times. You can't beat the deal, and you can't beat the company. It's just a great group of people. And you get to sit out on the dock and watch. You might even see an alligator come up. Just don't feed him.
Could be.
Please don't.
It has been in the past, but I don't think we've seen one in the recent year or so.
Well,
but it might be this weekend. Okay, well, that's all I wanted to take up
Great.
for time.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate hearing from you, Ms. Bill, and look forward.
Sure.
I won't be there this weekend, but sure appreciate the service that y'all do. And look forward. Do you have any idea when the next fly-in is going to be?
Well, we haven't decided yet. Okay. It'll be later in the year. That's for sure, because there's a terrific amount of weekends that are already spoken for.
Right.
For flying events. Yeah.
Okay.
So
we certainly look forward to that when the opportunity arises. So let us know, okay?
Yep. Sure enough.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the next phone call. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Stephen and Nathan.
Well, I was going to give some good news, but I was going to give some informational news since you were talking about the Challenger crashing.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was a Challenger or another one, but a friend of mine and I, when I lived in the Lafayette area, were doing bird surveys out west of Abbeville, and we heard a bang, and we didn't even think anything about it. Weren't listening to a radio or anything. Got home and found out that there was stuff all over from, I guess, East Texas into West Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. Was that the Columbia disaster in 2003?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had friends that found things on their property, and that definitely had a wide range debris field.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that our Central Louisiana potentate, Joe McPherson, is being honored not this Saturday, but a week from Saturday in Baton Rouge by the Louisiana Wildlife Federation, and he's receiving the Lifetime Conservation Achievement Award at that meeting.
That is wonderful.
And I don't know that my politics quite agree with Joe's, but since I consider him a Blue Dog Democrat, sometimes they overlap.
Yeah, that's true. And you know, a lot of folks, we have several local Democratic politicians who would be, as you call, a blue dog. They're not yellow dog. They'd be more conservative in many values. And Joe, certainly one of those, an avid sportsman. And so it's nice to see that he's being acknowledged for that. That's great.
And in the wild event, anybody wants to join the crew, they need to go to the Louisiana Wildlife Federation website.
I'm looking at it right now, lawildlifefed.org. And a great website there. I'm noticing it says William Joe McPherson from Woodworth has been recognized for a lifetime of advancing conservation, wildlife habitat protection, and public access to outdoor recreation. Through decades of legislative leadership and public service, McPherson helped strengthen Louisiana's natural resource management and protect critical lands and waters. So very, very nice acknowledgement of his work.
Yeah, and it's not an onerous cost. It's in Baton Rouge, not this Saturday, but Saturday a week. And people can go to the website and register to go if they want to attend to honor Joe.
Wonderful. Well, I really appreciate you letting us know about that. That's good news. And nice to see Joe getting that recognition. He'll always be Senator McPherson, but it'll also be Joe, because he didn't put on airs the way he served. We appreciate him and appreciate hearing that he's being acknowledged. Thank you for the call.
Sure.
All right. Well, that wraps up this little segment. We got to take another news break or another break. When we come back, we'll continue, hopefully, with your calls, 318-442-8255, the BOM Talk Line. Back with more on Talkback.
KSYL.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter. At the clinics, your health is our priority. Whether it's a routine checkup or ongoing care, we are here for you. Dr. Noah Miller, our newest family medicine physician, along with 5 other dedicated family physicians, are now accepting new patients. Schedule your appointment today. And remember, if you're ever admitted to the hospital, our doctors will see you there too. Most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The clinics, 1587 North Bolton, 445-9823, online at theclinics.us.
Every office has that person.
They keep the schedule straight. They solve problems before anyone else knows there's a problem. And somehow keeps the whole office together.
Administrative professionals, the real MVPs.
This Administrative Professionals Week, Say's Office Supply, teaming up with Sinlaw Broadcasting, wants to give them something they truly deserve.
A better seat at work.
Introducing the Chair of the Day giveaway.
Each weekday during Administrative Professionals Week, Say's Office Supply and Sinlaw Broadcasting will award one brand new office chair to a deserving administrative professional right here in Central Louisiana.
Nominate your office superstar.
Tell us why they go above and beyond. And they could be our next Chair of the Day winner. Nominate today at saysofficesupply.com or find a link at sinlawbroadcasting.com.
From Say's Office Supply and Sinlaw Broadcasting, supporting the people who support your business.
It all at Say's Office Supply.
David was in big trouble with the IRS.
At first, I didn't owe that much, but after this year, it was out of control.
Then David called Get a Tax Lawyer.
Right away, they were like, oh yeah, looks like you're qualified to save.
Get a Tax Lawyer went to work.
Should have called way sooner.
Get a Tax Lawyer has helped thousands like David fight the IRS and get a fresh start.
Call 800-745-3070. That's 800-745-3070.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
It's Talkback 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYL.
All right, good morning. Welcome back to Talkback. Yes, sir. It's a good day. Got a good correction update from our friendly caller from a little bit earlier. We were talking about the Easter service at Journey Church that's coming up this weekend, and he was letting me know that Saturday will be at 5 p.m. We didn't know the time. I'm glad he let us know, because I would have thought 6 p.m. as a normal time, but Saturday at 5, I guess, taking advantage of daylight and whatnot. And again, of course, Sunday 8:30, 10, and 11:30 a.m. the special Easter services over at Journey. And we'd love to hear from you and your church if you're doing something special for Easter. I have seen some other yard signs for Howe Church in Pineville, but I don't know the details of what they're doing. I just happened to notice the yard signs out and about as I drive around. So, here it is. I just found it. I Googled it, of course. So Easter Sunday, 9 and 10:30. and they've been doing a 21-day fast, started back on March 16th up until Easter Sunday. So looks like they've got a good thing happening over there at Journey Church. At Howe Church in Pineville, Journey Church. I'm sure Calvary will have some big events going on. I just don't know any details. And we'd love to hear if your church is doing something. If you're having a Saturday event or a Friday event, a lot of churches or many churches will have perhaps a Good Friday service. I know in the African American churches, I've often been invited to participate in the 7 sayings of Jesus, those 7 last sayings. And that's always an interesting service. I don't know if you've been to one like that where you go and there's 7 different ministers and each one is given one of the final 7 sayings of Jesus. Wow. And I hate to tell you, you're going to be there a couple hours because you got 7 preachers. Each one of them has a topic. So even if you did just 10 minutes apiece, that's 70 minutes plus some music in there and whatnot. So that's always been enjoyable, though, to hear perspectives on those final sayings of Jesus. As we will keep with the open line today, we do have coming up at 8:05, Gabe Vermont will be calling in from Baton Rouge and will give us an update on the happenings down there. As you may recall, we talked about the bills that were being talked about, the carbon capture bill, and there's an interesting story. I think it's on let me see if I can find it again. I think it was on the Illuminators where I saw it, where they said that the bill that failed on Tuesday is that what you said, pretty much the one that was most likely to pass.
Oh, really?
It didn't pass. Yeah. And so they say, according to this story over at the Louisiana Illuminator by Elise Punk, that was shared this morning at 3 a.m. Who shares a story at 3 a.m.? I guess that it was scheduled for release.
When you get done, I guess.
But it said that the bill to place restrictions on carbon dioxide pipelines and storage facilities failed Tuesday, and the quote, likely spelling doom for other legislation looking to limit the use of this technology in the state. So I don't know if that is the death knell for the rest of the legislation. They go on to talk about
Probably.
how the Department of Conservation and Energy currently has 31 applications for carbon storage projects across the state, each of them representing anywhere from 1 to 8 wells to pump CO2 underground. So that's a lot of applications. And it goes on to talk, to quote State Representative Mike Johnson, Speaker Pro Tem, who was the sponsor, and he said that he was trying to reverse a 2020 state law that gave companies permission to use eminent domain for carbon dioxide projects. This is a quote from Representative Johnson. He said, I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't ask any questions. Now that's a contradiction against our U.S. and Louisiana constitutions we have to correct. And so he took up the mantle, took that charge. He actually had several co-sponsors, but the 4.5-hour marathon committee meeting ended in I think it was a 12-7 vote against the measure passing, which means it effectively is killed for the season, for the session, I should say, because it's considered involuntarily deferred. I think there is some process could be taken back up, but it would take a Herculean effort. So he also has the other bill to allow just Rapides Parish voters to decide whether they want carbon projects in Rapides Parish. And there's another legislation to allow the same power to all 64 parishes. But according to this article from Louisiana Illuminator, the failure of the bill on Tuesday doesn't spell much success for other bills in the future.
Yeah, it's not looking good, I'd say. I figured this would be the one that would have a chance of passing. Mm-hmm. And sure didn't. I was kind of surprised, too. I was thinking that one might be the one that goes through.
There's a comment in there that said that there were biting comments on the committee, and they heard outcry from audience members, listened to intense testimony from residents and organizations. Representative Shane Mack from Livingston, his quote was, yesterday was a really tough day. A 4.5-hour committee meeting is going to be a tough one no matter which side you come out on. Was Gabe, he's not on that committee, is he? I don't think he's on that committee. Wow. So he'll be calling to give his perspective. I know Jason DeWitt was on the committee because I saw him asking some questions as I kind of fast forwarded through and looked for familiar faces. And he was really trying to make the point that this was not an anti-industry bill. This was a property owner rights bill. And you could tell he was asking favorable questions and good questions, but it didn't pick up the legs that proponents wanted it to get.
Yeah. I don't think the ones against CCS are going to be too happy at the end of this. No. You never know, but.
Don't know if there's another method or alternative to go. It'd be interesting to see if any of these wells are being fast-tracked, these sites that are under permit process right now. So neither one of us watched President Trump last night. I know we were trying to follow it during the day, and I'm sure we've looked at quotes from it. I think he talked about 18 minutes long. The news report, though, said that the people who were most upset about it were the people who were watching Survivor and interrupted their Survivor episode. Yeah. But, hey, let's go to the phone line. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Stephen and Nathan.
So you mean to tell me that all those meetings at churches and schools and all the public displays and all the writing your representatives and all the radio talk shows didn't change a thing on this CCS?
Well, the outcome was 12-7 against it, so apparently it didn't budge the needle enough.
Right. Even the guys with an R behind their name didn't matter, right? So wonder why that is.
I got a feeling if I were Al, I would predict that you're going to say it's all about the money.
No, meet the new boss. They're the same as the old boss. It doesn't matter.
I missed my opportunity.
These guys, I mean, politicians do not care about the voters except when it's time to make a campaign contribution or when it's election day. They talk a good game. They're a great salesperson. They're a great self-promoter, but they really don't care. Try calling one of them and asking him a question or her a question. They will come on your radio show and give a lot of window dressing and a lot of good talking points. But in the end, they're not going to vote the way we want them to vote. They're going to vote to preserve their power and to preserve their campaign war chest. That's their goal.
And I think all of us probably have individual, I say all of us, many of us will have individual interactions with elected officials that are positive, and we do feel like we're being heard. But sometimes in situations like this, it almost feels like the deck is stacked against what a local folks might be desirous of.
You know, actions speak louder than words. So, yeah, they may hear you, but their actions reveal their true motivation.
So to follow this chain of thought out, and I'm late for this break, but is there a solution? Is there a motivation? Can you take something out of the equation to make it a more equitable process?
Well, what you need to do, all of us, is don't put your faith in men. They're going to fail us. They're going to let us down. We're all fallen creatures. We all make mistakes. We all yield to improper motivation. So to put our faith in men or mankind or womankind is a false dichotomy. We're not going to win that battle. Number two, every person is after their own self-interest first. So if you'll have those two positions, you may not change the outcome, but you'll be a lot less disappointed.
Well, I certainly don't disagree with you. I've let down enough of my fair share of people as well in that. So, hey, thanks for the call. I've got to take a break. Got one more caller wanting to call in. Let me get this break, and we'll take this next call. Be right back after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics.
That's right, Alexandria. Ready for the biggest crawfish boil in Cenla? Saturday, April 11th at Spirits, we're bringing the heat. With live music from Alligator Blue, delicious crawfish from Hothead, and specialty brews from Huckleberry Brewing. Tickets are selling fast. $50 gets you 4 pounds of mud bugs and all the fixins. Or grab a $20 general admission ticket and come soak up the fun. Things kick off at 3 this Saturday at Spirits on Texas Avenue. Get tickets now at spiritssabot.com and get ready for a weekend of mud bugs and music.
Hello, I'm Sarah Kramer of Kramer Funeral Home. Funerals don't just signify that a life has ended. They celebrate that a life was lived and loved. At Kramer Funeral Home, we understand the importance of celebrating a life well lived. And since no two people are alike, no two funerals should be alike. We will assist you step by step in creating a meaningful service that honors your loved one's unique life. Let us, the staff at Kramer Funeral Home, be your personal guide.
No, you can't.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. Now back to Talkback.
All right, welcome back to Talkback. So glad to have you along with us. The caller I was wanting to go to dropped off during the break, so would love to have you call back. I was trying to time out the break just enough time to get that last caller in, and then when we went to the break, he fell off. But
might have been Gabe too calling in.
Well, hopefully not too early. Sometimes I know I caution Mayor Gail Wilking to don't call too early, because if you do, you're going to be on the tail end of the previous caller's, previous guest call. I saw her yesterday. Every Wednesday I go to a meeting with a group of pastors at the coffee shop over there at the entrance of LCU. And she
Caffeinated.
Now called Caffeinated. That's right. And she had come by there I think she was going towards Jewelry next door, and as she was leaving, I ran out and grabbed her and said, come say hi to these preachers. So we had a nice conversation. And she's always a delightful person when you get a chance to get her to take her hat off, which she didn't do. But
what do you call a table full of preachers?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
know. I was curious.
It's a mess.
Not the liar's table, is it?
A liar's table. It's a mess, I can tell you. That's a good group of guys that's been meeting for over 40 years. Over the years, Baptist, Pentecostal, Presbyterian, Methodist, a whole eclectic group. And so I've enjoyed the friendships that we create there. Hopefully it's a good witness to the community to see
that's good.
Being friends. And it's not a really religious group. It's like we have some theological conversations, but we respect each other's differences. And
y'all do that enough, huh?
Yeah. We're really being more supportive in, we have similar struggles. We face similar challenges. It can be, whether it's parking or logistics or copyright issues or, there's all sorts of things, staffing problems, scheduling issues. I mean, problems are universal, but sometimes you find good solutions in just talking it out with people who face the similar problems. So,
for sure.
Yeah. So,
No, go ahead.
I didn't know if you had any takeaways from the Trump speech and the
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't know if you saw
to catch up. I caught the first part this morning about we're obliterating and we'll obliterate some more.
Selling back to the Stone Age, that kind of stuff.
Stuff like that.
He talked about basically promising only 2 to 3 more weeks of war is what it sounds like he's saying. And he feels like we've achieved most of the goals. There were 4 goals. One was the elimination of the Army, the elimination of the Navy, the elimination of their ability to strike with drones, and then their nuclear capabilities. And the Army and the Navy certainly have been crippled beyond soon repair. The drone strikes, I was listening to the Wright report this morning, and he says that he thinks that they have maybe 800 to 900 left available in the nation, but it's been severely curtailed. The tail trucks that launched them have mostly been wiped out, but Russia's continuing to supply them through the back door. So Russia's supplying them just like we're supplying the Ukraine, right? These proxy wars that are taking place everywhere. So it's really, here's what I don't understand, and maybe an erudite caller can explain. The Strait of Hormuz, none of our oil goes through there. So why are our oil prices going up?
I'm sure there's some technical thing.
Well, it's probably the global supply and demand. So just because it's more expensive someplace else, the suppliers will want to sell it over there. But it just feels like taking advantage of the situation.
Those prices are starting to get annoying.
They really are. They really are. All right, that wraps up hour number 1. We'll have State Representative Gabe Furman calling in hour number 2, and we'd love to hear from you as well. 318-442-8255. Stick around for more and contribute. Be a part of the show. Talk to you after this break.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers, and not necessarily those of Cenla Broadcasting.
AM 970, FM 104.9, KSYL, and KRRV 100.3, HD3, Alexandria.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. We begin with a telling first full day for the crew of the Artemis II and their hopes of making history in space.
Artemis II has fired its thruster rockets to adjust its orbit around the Earth, raising the low point to more than 100 miles. That engine burn came when they were at the high point, nearly 44,000 miles up.
We're tracking a good burn.
And we see the same, and with a bonus trim burn.
And they could be headed a whole lot farther than that in a few hours. Mission managers will determine whether or not they're pleased with Orion's performance this afternoon. And if so, it's translunar injection tonight, the rocket firing that sends Reed Weissman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen to the moon. Peter King, CBS News, Orlando.
Analysts are sizing up President Trump's primetime speech to the nation last night on the Iran war. He defended his decision to attack and said the U.S. military needs more time. CBS News Chief Washington analyst Robert Costa.
You see a real aggressive approach right now from President Trump. There's no signal that he wants to wind this down in any way or use ground troops. It's really about how he navigates so many issues, trying to get toward a deal. And he wants to leave a lot of options on the table.
There's a new option for those magical shots. Eli Lilly, maker of the weight loss drug Zepbound, has gotten FDA approval for a new obesity pill, Foundayo. It follows Novo Nordisk's Wegovy pill, which hit the market late last year. Benefits? CBS News medical contributor Dr. Celine Gounder.
The easier it is for people to take it, so no injections, no refrigeration, that may bring in people who did not want to get treated or avoided treatment before.
Both pills are much less expensive than injections. New DNA testing confirms a Utah teenager, Laura Ann Amy, was murdered by serial killer Ted Bundy more than 50 years ago. He confessed to the crime, but officials didn't have the technology to prove it at the time. Sheriff's Sergeant Mike Reynolds.
We felt the pain that the family feels when she was taken. We felt the pain that you felt this whole entire time, and we've had a desire to deliver to you some type of healing. And I know I can't really say the word closure, but some type of healing, and hopefully we've brought that.
Americans are upping their goals for retirement savings. CBS's Michael Wallace.
Northwestern Mutual asked thousands of people how much money they think they will need in retirement. The magic number was $1.46 million, up from $1.26 million last year due to concerns about inflation. A recent NerdWallet poll found only 5% of Americans with retirement accounts have socked away at least $1 million. 9% have saved $500,000.
Dow futures down 615. This is CBS News.
It's one of the most successful law and justice programs in television history that continues to uncover the truth. 48 Hours, Saturday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
Wait, everything on this IHOP value menu is just $6?
I told you it was amazing. A huge plate of pancakes, bacon, and eggs is just $6.
Wow.
There's also French toast, a ham and cheese omelet, and oh, they got a BLT and fries now.
Okay, we're coming here every day.
You don't have to tell me twice.
Feast for just $6 with the IHOP value menu. $7 in some locations, available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it's time to make an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the ones you'll actually move into and call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Chocolate fans will be getting the real thing again, not that faux chocolatey coating.
After the founder's grandson accused the company of cutting corners by using cheaper ingredients, Hershey now says it'll return all Reese's products to their original chocolate recipes. Some newer items had used coatings with less real chocolate, partly due to high cocoa prices. Hershey says the change will happen by 2027 as it tries to restore trust and stick closer to the candy's classic formula. Stacey Lynn, CBS News.
Days after an AI-powered Olaf the Snowman robot keeled over and lost his nose at Disneyland Paris, there's trouble in Rapunzel's forest.
Flower, clean and
Video from Tokyo Disney Sea shows crows picking apart the animatronic's hair as she continues singing happily from a balcony to the crowd below. Rapunzel was eventually removed from her tower. Deborah Rodriguez, CBS News.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Colleen Crane. A bill is moving through the House that would allow the state to release an inmate 120 days prior to his or her expected death, instead of the current 60-day window. Department of Corrections Secretary Gary Westcott says he supports the legislation and says inmates up for medical early release are either terminally ill or incapacitated.
I will tell you that they are vetted. They do not come up to us, everybody that's ill. We got to know that they're really at the end of their life.
Louisiana's 2-month window for medical early release release is the shortest in the country. Nichols State chemistry students are discovering a way to make biodiesel using algae and oyster shells. Samya Ilashri says this method can slash the cost of making the fuel in Louisiana by as much as 85%.
The resources that we're using are local. It didn't really cost anything to collect them.
She says since algae grows abundantly in Louisiana, this could one day be a lucrative business in the state. LRN. The Humane Society of Louisiana says choose chocolate instead of a live animal this Easter.
In an effort to create holiday memories, some parents may buy live chicks to put in their kids' Easter baskets. Jeff Dorson, the executive director of the Humane Society of Louisiana, says that's not such a good idea.
All these animals require lots of care, time, money, and resources which most families don't always factor in.
It's for that reason that shelters always see an uptick in surrenders around Easter. Dorson says you're better off getting your kid a chocolate bunny, or if you're more health conscious, you can never go wrong with a plush toy. I'm Andrew Greenstein.
Louisiana and the Gulf South love Gold Brick eggs and Heavenly Hash, but according to Investors Observer, Easter candy prices have increased 67% since 2020. Ponchatoula-based Elmer Candy's CEO Rob Nelson says it's still been a good year for Elmer chocolate.
With the price of cocoa or what we thought, and then the shorter Easter season, but sales at retail seem to be very brisk.
LRN.
The world once needed lots of paper made right here in central Louisiana. Now we're making a comeback with clean methanol. Beaver Lake Renewable Energy will turn Louisiana wood into fuel, creating hundreds of direct and indirect jobs and giving loggers a steady market again. It's not just a plant, it's a promise to our land, our people, and our future. Visit beaverlakerenewable.com and find out how we're putting central Louisiana back on the map.
Good morning, our Thursday. A mostly cloudy day. 85 will be the afternoon high. We're going to see a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the afternoon and early evening hours. And again, the wind factor gusting as high as 20 today. It's going to be out of the south. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll go down to 68. And then tomorrow is 70% chance of rain, highs 85. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Gratian.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
It's Talkback, Central Louisiana's longest-running talk show. Whether it's the guests or the callers, Talkback is where Central Louisiana begins its conversation.
The second day of April. Thankfully, April Fools is over, because you might not would believe me when I say we've got a good state representative on the line. But we do. He's a good one. Representative Kay Furman. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Nate. I'm doing good.
Well, you're a good one. It's not April Fools. We appreciate what you do and the way that you serve. And I know that it's been already a busy opening session for you guys down there in Baton Rouge.
It has. It's been pretty busy. I think we're in week. Can't remember now if it's week 3 or week 4. They kind of run together, but we're taking a few days off for Easter. But when we come back Tuesday, it'll be pretty steady until the end of session, June 9th, I believe.
So I asked you, as you called in just a little earlier, I'd asked you, I didn't think you were on natural resources, and you said that committee chairmen typically only serve on the committee that they chair, which makes a lot of sense because your committees may have to meet at all sorts of times. And so you didn't have to be at the committee meeting on Tuesday that Natural Resources did for House Bill 7. But you said to me that bill has definitely had some reverberations through the Capitol, the outcome of that. Give us a little feedback on what you're hearing about carbon capture and its current status in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, so of course, House Bill 7, Speaker Pro Tem Mike Johnson was the lead author. I was a co-sponsor along with Jason DeWitt and Chuck Owen and Rodney Schermerhorn, Rhonda Butler. So most of the Central Louisiana representatives were co-authors on that deal, and that deal simply said you cannot expropriate private property for carbon capture and sequestration. Really as simple as that. And of course, the bill failed. I think it was a 7-12 vote in opposition to moving the bill to the full House for a vote. And then a motion was made to involuntarily defer the bill, which pretty much kills it, and it will not get out of Natural Resources Committee. So, the bill is essentially dead, unfortunately. But Nathan, let me say this. Mike Johnson did a brilliant job of presenting that bill, and of course his opening statement was long. I think it was about 40 minutes, but that's because he hit every single point. Of course, Mike is a lawyer, so he made all the legal arguments, the constitutional arguments, the biblical arguments, in favor of protecting private property. He talked about situations his constituents had gone through, mentioned how important it was, even as a father and a grandfather, to protect that right to own and control your property. And so, I don't know if anybody wants to go back and listen to 4.5 hours of testimony, but I would encourage everyone to at least go into the broadcast archives of the House website and listen to Mike's opening statement, because it was really brilliant. Another thing I would encourage everyone to do is, and Mike covers this in his opening, but the Louisiana Supreme Court a couple of weeks ago issued a ruling on not a carbon capture case, but on another case involving eminent domain and property that was expropriated for purposes of private development and private property. And Supreme Court Justice Jay McCallum, who's my state Supreme Court Justice and probably Rapides too, just did a masterful concurrence on that decision. And, he starts off with the statement, an individual is free only to the extent that he has sole and exclusive dominion over what he owns. And he went on to say that private ownership of property is the cornerstone of a free society. And just a brilliant treatise on the Constitution. He also brought in biblical arguments, the Magna Carta, John Locke, the Founding Fathers. So it would be worth your time to go and read that concurrence from Justice McCallum. But my thought on the hearings Tuesday, and I listened to all of Mike's comments. I caught bits and pieces of the other testimony, but I just don't understand how anyone could listen to Mike's arguments, could consider Justice McCallum's arguments, can look at the Constitution and vote against the bill. It just blows my mind, but that's where we're at.
Why do you think it failed?
Well, I think it's very simple that those who voted against it, and I'm not going to say their position is completely unreasonable, but their position is that the potential economic benefits associated with projects that are supposedly dependent upon carbon capture and sequestration outweighs the right of people to control their property. That basically was the argument that the opposition presented, and Representative Mack, who voted in favor of the bill, just point blank asked one of the I can't remember if they were from the Department of Natural Resources or maybe one of the attorneys that were testifying, just point blank asked, if I don't want to sell my property at any price, for any reason, can you make me? And they said, yes, there will be some cases where we have to expropriate property for a pipeline, and essentially because we need to run pipelines in a straight line, it costs too much to go around you. And so it's as simple as that. Economic benefits outweigh the right to own and control your property. And that's like that is not an argument that I'm comfortable with. And I think the supporters of the bill take that position, and the opponents are focused primarily on the economic benefits.
And there's a lot of talk about this for over a year now. When it comes to how eminent domain works, is it a public good? Is that something that has to be decided? Is this project a public good to where they could make them use the property?
I think so, and so the lawyers went back and forth on that. I think there was a discussion from the opposition that the Louisiana State Supreme Court's decision was not necessarily analogous to the carbon capture discussion, and I think ultimately it may be decided in the courts. And I know Save My Louisiana has a pending court case, but it may take someone attempting to expropriate property and a lawsuit being filed for it to be decided. But look, I mean, we've got three branches of government and separation of powers, and that's what the judicial branch is there for, to rule on the constitutionality of laws, and that may ultimately be how this is decided.
Well, that was going to be my question, was if the Supreme Court has recently ruled that eminent domain cannot be used for economic development, and that seems to be the clear language of the Constitution, then it would take a challenge to get them to rule on it specifically, whether carbon capture is economic development or public good. I did listen to parts of Representative Johnson's opening comments. I noticed that he stayed there for over 2 hours taking questions and articulately responding to them. So I certainly agree with your assessment. I find it interesting also that U.S. Congressman Clay Higgins has weighed in, and he is very upset about that idea of property rights being trampled on. However, on the flip side, carbon capture people are saying they haven't used eminent domain for their projects and don't want to use them, and almost as if they wouldn't, because they don't want mad property owners. So do you know, has it been used in carbon capture yet?
And so, Nathan, I don't know if you caught Jason DeWitt's line of questioning with Dustin Davidson, who's the Secretary of the Department of Natural Resources, and so Mike made the point, and Representative McCormick made the point. It's the threat of eminent domain that that's why the companies didn't want to see this law pass, because they will tell you that they haven't used it, but it's the threat of eminent domain. We heard testimony that it would take $100,000 for the average citizen to hire a lawyer and challenge one of these eminent domain cases. And look, I can tell you personally, I had a constituent call not too long ago. He lives in Grant Parish, but his wife grew up in Vernon Parish, and they called me for some advice because a landman with one of these CCS companies, they've got 20 acres. The family, my constituent and has two siblings. They've got 20 acres they inherited in Vernon Parish, and they were essentially told, you sign this 5-year contract, we're going to pay you $300 an acre. If you don't sign it, we have the right to take your land and not pay you anything. That's happening, and that is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
I don't know how anyone on that committee, anyone in the legislature, could look that property owner in the eye and tell them they're okay with that. But that's happening. And to his credit, the secretary, Mr. Davison, said he was aware that some of that was happening. He didn't feel like he had the proper mechanism to go after that behavior. And the way I interpreted his comments, he challenged the legislature to pass a law that would allow the department to crack down on some of that behavior. But that's just reprehensible that that's being done.
Well, thank you for that insight. Can you stick around for one more segment, or you need to go?
Sure.
We need to take this break. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you about your perspective on insurance, since you chair that committee, and what might we see coming out of the legislature this particular session. We'll be back with State Representative Gabe Furman right after this.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics. With 18 providers and 3 locations, someone can see you today.
Attention all real estate agents, property owners, and lenders. When you or a client needs a real estate attorney, call the professionals at Thompson Law Firm. Whether the legal matter is basic or complex, the Thompson Law Firm can accurately guide you or your client to a successful outcome. That's why numerous industry professionals have trusted the Thompson Law Firm for years. They also handle estate planning, successions, and business law. Call them at 473-0052. I am a paid non-client attorney spokesperson.
David was in big trouble with the IRS.
At first, I didn't owe that much, but after this year, it was out of control.
Then David called Get a Tax Lawyer.
Right away, they were like, oh yeah, looks like you're qualified to save.
Get a Tax Lawyer went to work.
Should have called way sooner.
Get a Tax Lawyer has helped thousands like David fight the IRS and get a fresh start.
Call 800-745-3070. That's 800-745-3070.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I'm home.
So, how'd the open house go?
It was going great until that rat showed up.
Oh, honey, it's not nice to call a potential client a rat.
It was a real rat, George.
Ooh, what'd you do?
What else? I called Pest Aid.
Want to get rid of your pests? Pest Aid Company is the place. Locally owned and operated, keeping Siddlaws homes and businesses pest-free for decades. Call Pest Aid Company for a treatment, or they'll sell you what you need to do it yourself. Pest Aid Company. Like them on Facebook.
If you'd like to take part in the show today, call the BOM Bank Talk line at 442-8255. That's 442-TALK. And remember, if you're looking to purchase or refinance your home, call Christina Bagwell at the BOM Bank Mortgage Department at 448-2430.
It's Talkback 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
Welcome back to Talk Back, where we're delighted to have State Representative Gabe Firment on the line. Stephen had a final carbon capture question.
I know we were kind of, postulating the past couple of days. If this bill failed, then does that mean it's kind of doom and gloom for the rest of this anti-CCS bills?
I would say it will be very difficult, if not impossible, to pass any carbon capture related legislation out of that committee. So I think that's obvious. House Bill 7, the Speaker Pro Tem's bill, really was not about carbon capture. It was about private property rights. And so, I would say if you can't pass that, it's going to be almost impossible to pass anything else. I wish it was different, but
yeah. Even a local bill like a parish-specific, those failed last time, didn't they? The parish-specific bills.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult.
Okay.
Your constituents over there, I know they're probably mostly anti-CCS, is what you're hearing, if I'm correct there. What are they saying about this, and what do you think is next? Is it for them? These companies are just going to move forward, kind of thing?
I haven't had a single person in Grant Parish tell me they're in favor of carbon capture. Now, maybe a couple of folks in LaSalle have indicated, they're not necessarily opposed to it. But to be honest with you, it has not been as big of an issue in Grant because we don't have any, to my knowledge, we don't have any pending permits or talk of any projects, carbon capture projects coming to Grant. So it has not been as big an issue here as it is in parts of Rapides or Vernon or Beauregard. So look, I'm never going to say it's over. I had a very controversial bill a few years ago. It seemed like common sense just to say you can't perform mutilating medical procedures on kids confused about their gender, but that bill was shot down 2 years in a row. Didn't even get out of committee. Then it just sort of caught fire and we passed it. And look, something like that may happen here if Congress would roll back those 45Q tax credits, it would all go away today. And so people probably should spend more time contacting their congressional delegation, and so President Trump could make it go away. The courts, a favorable court decision, could stop the progress of some of these projects. So sometimes you just got to regroup and live to fight another day.
Well, very good. Well, let's transition to the committee that you chair, and let us know what is exciting in insurance coming up this year in the session.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, it is not as exciting as the Natural Resources Committee, but the last 2 years, year one of this term was all about property insurance reform. Last year was all about tort reform, and it was some bruising fights. And thankfully this year, look, we've got some good bills, but it's not as controversial. We don't have as many big reform bills as we did the past 2 years. So, what I'd like to mention first is that we are seeing the fruits of our labor. And I know rates are still too high. Property insurance, auto insurance rates are still too high, but we are seeing some good things happening. Personal auto rates were down 4.5% last year, and I think we're going to see that trend continue. Homeowners is stabilizing. We've got new companies coming into the market. I'm anticipating after companies finish buying their reinsurance in May and June that we'll see some rate decreases there. Commercial auto is still a problem, still something we've got to work with. But a couple of our biggest bills are not going to affect until January 1st. So, I think once those bills have time to start making impact and reducing the number of lawsuits, that we'll see some movement in commercial auto. But the advice I would give to everybody is you've got to shop around. Make insurance companies compete for your business. And if you contact a good independent agent, State Farm, Allstate, Shelter, Farm Bureau, get quotes from everybody. I would be very, very surprised if you did not see improvements in your rates.
A lot of folks don't do that. I'll admit, I got an insurance agent right out of high school, and I stayed with him till he retired. He actually thanked me. He said I was an ideal customer because I think I stayed with him for 30 years, and he was happy to have my payment every month. But that idea of shopping around seems foreign to folks who build their life on relationships. But when it comes to the bottom line with money, you definitely have to do that. My question as a pastor is, how much shopping around is available to churches with Church Mutual pulling out of the market last year? That probably one of the larger companies in America just walked away from the state of Louisiana. Or do you see many other options for churches?
Yeah, no, churches are really in crisis mode. And, Guide One is probably the biggest church insurer in the state now. I know some other companies are writing churches, but it's very expensive. But we did pass legislation back in 23, I believe, that established the framework for a church self-insured fund. Just last year, we were able to provide some funding, $3 million, just as some seed money, some startup money. And just this week, I met with Dr. Steve Horn, Dr. Will Hall, with the Louisiana Baptist. We met with the Department of Insurance. Senator Rick Edmonds, who's actually running for Congress and is a Baptist pastor, is running legislation to more or less kickstart that self-insured funds. So I think I'm helping them get that through. I think we see a path forward. The Department of Insurance just wants to make sure that there's adequate reinsurance, there's adequate reserves to pay claims when a storm hits. But I think we had a good conversation, and that legislation is going to move forward. And so that's what we need as churches is another option. And this self-insured fund, which is not just Baptist, it's
of course
Assembly of God and UPC. I'm not sure if the Catholics have officially signed on, but I know we've had discussions with the Catholic Church as well. So, I'm optimistic that that's going to be up and running hopefully by the first of next year, if not sooner.
Well, very good. Representative Gabe Permit, we sure appreciate your time today. I talked to you all hour long, but I'm sure you got rats to kill and things to do. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us today.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter to you as well.
Thank you.
There you go, Representative Gabe Permit, one of our favorites, and we'll be back with the rest of Talk Back after this.
This is Bloomberg Money Minute. A lot of pessimism on Wall Street going into the long holiday weekend. Stock markets close, bond markets open tomorrow. President Trump last night vowing to hit Iran harder, despite earlier in the week saying the U.S. could exit the war. And now crude oil futures absolutely skyrocketing as much as 13% higher. If you paid a lot for a spring break trip, here's part of the reason why Americans, especially wealthy ones, spending more on travel. Hotel developers struggling to keep up. According to CoStar, there are no new luxury beachfront hotels under construction in the U.S., so a shortage, and that's driving room rates higher. And meet the new AI coworker who won't stop ratting on colleagues. The founder of Kusei AI, creating a workplace with a virtual AI employee called Junior that behaves like a driven new hire. For $2,000 a month, companies can have Junior draft marketing campaigns, watch customer relationships, and snitch on other employees when they laze out a bit or mess up with customers. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Some smiles sound like this, while others sound this way. If you'd like to improve the way your smile sounds, the folks over at Today's Dental in Pineville can deliver. Over the years, hundreds of Central Louisiana patients have visited Today's Dental and then left completely satisfied. Their dental implant procedure is amazingly simple, low anxiety, and completely affordable. Today's technology makes your beautiful smile easier than ever. The staff at Today's Dental go out of their way to make you comfortable with calming in-office IV sedation that's administered by a highly skilled certified nurse anesthetist. And their multiple finance options make the entire procedure truly affordable. Want your smile to sound better? Give Today's Dental a call at 318-448-4540. It's a general dental facility on Highway 28 East in Pineville, owned by Dr. Jonas Goche. That's 318-448-4540.
Hey, it's me, Gus the Gopher for Atlas Energy. I dig all around the yard. Occasionally, I bump into a utility line and get a headache. But if you hit one with your shovel, backhoe, or ditch digger, you could cause a gas leak, disrupt service, or worse. So call 811 at least 3 business days before you or someone else digs in your yard to have those underground utility-owned lines marked. It's free and it's the law. You dig what I'm saying? For more on safe digging, visit atmosenergy.com/811.
Good morning, our Thursday. A mostly cloudy day. 85 will be the afternoon high. We're going to say a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms, mainly during the afternoon and early evening hours. And again, the wind factor gusting as high as 20 today. It's going to be out of the south. Mostly cloudy tonight. We'll go down to 68. And then tomorrow is 70% chance of rain, highs 85. From the Cenla Broadcasting Weather Center, I'm Dave Grayson.
It's Talkback, 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
Well, we welcome you back to Talkback. It's the last half hour of the week, believe it or not. Talkback will be taking a Easter vacation. We'll be away for Good Friday. And so we're enjoying the final time to talk with you this week before Easter rolls around. 318-442-8255 is the number. Love to hear from you this morning, especially first-time callers, those who haven't chatted with us in a while. I had a text from a listener wanted to know, Stephen, what was the name of that coffee shop you said was worth the drive the other day?
So Caffeinated opened in Pineville a couple of months ago, but they have their original location in Glenmore. It's right off of like 165. If you're leaving Elliott towards Glenmore, it's on the left. It's a big 2-story black building, and it's also called Caffeinated. Beautiful on the inside. The coffee's really good. They have like those Red Bull drinks that everyone's doing now. I don't know what they call them. I hate Red Bull, so I won't be getting that. But good coffee. I think an interesting vibe, as the kids would say. And you should check it out if you're in the area.
Oh, that is cool. So Caffeinated in Glenmora, and the one in Pineville is location number 2.
Yeah, you just got to have a good vibe.
That's cool.
The vibe's got to be right.
That is cool.
They got it right.
So I attended the inauguration last Thursday, a week ago today, of President Mark Johnson over at LC, I should say, Louisiana Christian University. And I was noticing that LC Alumni and Friends group has a post with some of the behind the scenes video footage of what was taking place beforehand and all that. And it got me thinking about something President Johnson said, and I didn't know this until that night. He has a twin brother.
Oh, wow.
And his brother was there. And I told him yesterday, in fact, I saw him yesterday at the Children's Advocacy Network event. Every first day of April, they hold an event at noon at the Giant Flag in Pineville to kick off Child Abuse Awareness Month. And we'll need to get them in at some point this month to talk about that. But President Johnson was there representing LC. And I told him this incident. I'm sitting in the area where they had designated for the speakers as I was representing Pineville as one of the speakers. And I looked to my left and I saw President Johnson. I thought was President Johnson, but he had an earring. And I thought, wow, I didn't realize President Johnson had an earring. That's really progressive for the board to elect a president with an earring.
Yeah.
And I guess it probably makes a cool connection with the kids, it makes it. And then later I realized, wait a minute, that's not President Johnson. It's his twin brother. But here's the best part about it. His twin brother works for the Porsche Corporation. And he said, I'm going to be hitting up Porsche for a donation. And
Porsche?
Porsche, the cars. The Porsche Corporation.
Oh, you say it the weird way.
Porsche?
Yes.
Is it Porsche or is it Porsche?
Probably Porsche. Because have you ever watched Friends? There's that whole episode about how to say Porsche.
No, I haven't seen that episode.
Anyway, well, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. We should do a story on that. Pretty cool. Right. Well, speaking of LCU, they have a big event coming up April 7th. They have Dr. Frank Turek coming to speak at Gwen Auditorium. If you don't know who that is, he was kind of a mentor of Charlie Kirk. Mm-hmm. But if you're into like the online religious or political debate sphere, he's pretty big on that. He'll answer questions from kids on college campuses about Christianity or politics, what have you. So pretty big name in that sphere. April 7th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in Gwen. And you can check that out on the LCU website. I think he's a former Catholic that became Protestant and got big into apologetics. So I'm hoping to go to that myself. It'll be really interesting.
I would love to hear that.
Speaking of Catholic converting, so we've been seeing a lot of stories out there with young adults and adults converting to more, I guess you could say, traditional forms of Christianity, Catholicism, even Eastern Orthodox. We've been seeing a lot of big surges when it comes to conversions for those two institutions. And Drudge Report, if you follow that, they had a big write-up about an influx of young adults joining the Catholic Church there in New York City, and kind of talks with them about why they're doing it and this, that, and the other. Well, the diocese here in Alexandria posted a day or two ago saying that for the first time in its history, they're going to be having a second OCIA in the year. So OCIA is kind of the program that the Catholic Church holds for people interested in the church and how you can get brought into it. And at the end, you start in like September, and then it ends in Easter. And so for Easter Vigil, you can get confirmed in the Catholic Church, and that's usually how it runs. Well, this is the first year ever they're going to start one right after Easter and ends in September or August. Okay. So they said they've been seeing an influx in people wanting to join the Catholic Church, and not just young people. It's a wide variety of people, a lot of people who are Christian already and want to join the Catholic Church. So you've been seeing that influx everywhere, including here in Central Louisiana. So for the first time, our local diocese is having that program in an off year, so twice a year.
Wow, that's fascinating. I've seen that material around, that especially young men seem to be really gravitating to the traditions and maybe the idea of something that's beyond just the narcissism of a current society, looking back to maybe a historicity and a foundation and something with roots, so to speak. And so it's been very much drawing people who are looking for something in this intransience that is today's world. So very interesting. And they've never done that before.
And you see how these things go. And you see, I mean, a couple of years ago, the Catholic Church, I think, was worried about attendance. And I think that's still a concern now. but they've been seeing influxes all across the area. I think the Diocese of Los Angeles is seeing a huge influx. Huge influx.
Wow.
New Jersey, up 30 to 40% from the previous year of people joining the church. So we've been seeing kind of that resurgence of not just Catholicism or Eastern Orthodox, but just Christianity as a whole. People are just looking for something.
I would say I've had conversations with that Wednesday group of pastors I told you about. Many of us have talked about this insurgence or influx, maybe is a better word, of young men who are really hungry and they want deep theological content. They don't want fluff. They don't want entertainment. So, all right, hold on. Before we go to the break, listen carefully.
Porsche.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's
Google,
like
that's
the Italian way. Right?
According to Google.
America, we're too busy to say all the syllables.
Drop that last syllable. All right, let's go to the break. We'll be back with more after this.
KSYL.
I'm Blake Miguez, and I approve this message. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm Blake Miguez. I'm a seventh-generation Louisianian. My family has been part of this state for centuries, built businesses, raised families, and lived by the values that make Louisiana, Louisiana. Conservative groups rated me the most conservative candidate in Louisiana's 5th congressional race. And President Trump gave my campaign his complete and total endorsement, calling me a MAGA warrior. Because when he needs someone in Washington who will fight hard, he knows he can count on me. President Trump has counted on me. Louisiana has counted on me. I won't let either one down. I'm Blake Miguez, Trump's MAGA warrior. I'm ready for this fight, and I'm asking for your vote.
Paid for by Miguez for Louisiana.
Tired of noisy neighbors? Want to keep pets in and problems out? Sounds like you need a Promo fence. At Promo Fencing and Lawn Care, our fences don't just work, they wow. From classic cedar and pine privacy fences to durable chain link, sleek metal, and aluminum. Even decorative fencing. We've got something for every home, yard, or business, big or small, residential or commercial. All with free estimates, expert installs, and small town customer care. Promo Fencing and Lawn Care. Fences that feel like home.
It's Talkback 970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO.
Well, the internet has a long memory, and if you say it once, and if it's recorded, it might come back to get you later.
Oh, no, you found one of my high school or college.
Sorry, buddy. I told you shouldn't have pressed the record, but no, this is actually U.S. Representative Julia Letlow, who was being interviewed to become president of the University of Louisiana at Monroe back in 2020. And this interesting video is now making the rounds. Take a listen.
I believe we need a division on this campus, a division of diversity, equity, and inclusion with leadership that goes all the way to the top with a full staff because our issues are so great.
Yeah, so okay, let's try that again. So that was Julia, Representative Letlow, that was sharing her thoughts in 2020 about the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that's not the position that's being taken today. So I guess the point is be careful whatever it is you state on camera, because it may come back to get you.
Man, that's a pretty deep find right there.
Yeah, all right, with hayride.com, got that. Let's go to the phone line. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Stephen and Nathan.
Good morning. How y'all doing this morning,
Doing
gentlemen?
great. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm just doing 55 in a 45 zone. I'm not going through woodwork.
Wise man, sir. You're a wise man.
Yeah, there you go. I've got a kind of a curious question. I'll go by the school board office at least 3 or 4 times a week because I go downtown and I come back by there. And I would just be curious to, I don't know how you could find it, if it's public knowledge or not. How many days a year those people actually work? Because I know if they've been off all this week, and you go out there on a Friday, there's nobody there, or maybe 1 or 2 cars parked. And I was curious as to how many days a year those people actually work and how much money they get paid. It would be an interesting, I don't know if public records will let you find that out or not, but it would just be really, really curious to see. And I don't know if they're all union like the teachers are or whatever, but
I guess it depends on because
us taxpayers work 5-6 days a week to pay our taxes to pay those people to work. And, they ought to, they ought to have to work a little more than we do, or as much as we do anyway.
I know some of them are 12-month employees and some are 9-month employees, so I guess it just depends. My mom's in the school board in Allen Parish, and she's a 12-month employee, but they still get a lot of those school holidays off. Maybe not as long, like summer break, and maybe like 1 or 2 weeks, I think. And then if, like, she's off for all the Easter holiday stuff, too, which is nice. And I'm a little envious, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, they just have nothing to do, that they don't need to go to work, or what's the deal? I'm sure that a lot of them just...
I don't think a lot of them are raking in the dough, to be honest with you. But
it'd just be interesting to see what, how much we pay them and then break it down to, when I say make an hour, I don't know whether they're all salaried. I'm sure they're salaried, but it would just be a curious fact to find out. Because it's like and even during the week, they may only work 4 days or 3.5 days or whatever. But this lady in the legislature was trying to make all the schools go to 5-day school weeks, because that day that the kids are off, what the parents do, they have to.
What do they do? Like, if you're in like a Voiles or another parish, like, how the heck do you take care of your kid on that day off?
I know it's really, really crazy and everything. Which kind of brings me to another point. I know y'all are busy, but I went out to eat the other night, and I would see this is prom time, So I see these little couples coming in. The men are just dressed with their suit and tie and everything, real nice. But I tell you, some of these young ladies look like ladies of the night. Golly. It's terrible the way these kids dress, especially the young women. I don't know how they get out of the house like that. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't leave much to the imagination.
Our moral fiber is really going down. It's terrible. But anyway, we all have a good day. Have a good Easter, y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Let's go to the next line. Good morning. You're on Talkback with Stephen and Nathan.
I'm not defending the school board and the employees, but the number of the employees whose office is at the school board headquarters are supervisors. Now, what are the supervisors supposed to be supervising? They're supposed to be supervising teachers, principals, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to supervise them from behind a desk in an office.
Yeah, my mom she does something like that for like pupil appraisal in Allen Parish, and so she's at different schools a lot of the parts of the day.
Well, that's correct. And I mean, I can understand the gentleman's concern about who's getting paid for what and this, that, and the other, but the supervisors go make sure that the teachers and the other people in the schools are doing what they're supposed to do.
I know the superintendent here, too. He's always hitting the road for something. So he's very active. Hey, look, if they get off a couple days more, I'm not going to knock it because it's like, man, I always tell my mom she's got it made. And that's if this news thing doesn't work out, I know where I'm going
into. Well, my wife was a teacher for 20.3 years. And she was miserable the last couple of years. And we could afford for her to retire, and she did. And that's one of the reasons why many teachers, at least in the past, retired after 20 years and took a 40% retirement and went out and did something else. They just burn out.
Yeah. I did see another bill, though, that was supposedly going to make it easier for retired teachers to go back to the school, to the classroom. I just don't know how many people would take them up on that.
Money?
Well, yeah, well, I still remember somebody from Old Fooey over in Catahoula Parish complaining about they didn't have certified teachers. And the problem about getting, Jonesville as a matter of fact, and the problem with getting certified teachers is who wants to work in some place like Jonesville unless that's where you live?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's what we had. That's the problem we had. Not to go down this rabbit hole, but that's the problem we had in some of the news stations I worked at. Is like, why in the heck would you want to work and stay here if you didn't live here and are from here? You know, and so that's a problem small market television stations deal with as well.
Which is why markets like KLB are considered training grounds, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sure that the gentleman who called in was genuinely concerned about what was going on, and I just called to provide him with an explanation as to why he didn't see a lot of vehicles in the parking lot.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that very much. We're going to take a break. We got another call on the line. We'll come back to that caller after this. Thanks for being with us on Talkback.
Talkback is sponsored by The Clinics.
This is Dr. Jonathan Hunter with The Clinics. We provide primary, family, and chronic care along with gastroenterology, podiatry, with on-site lab and x-ray services. I'm pleased to welcome family physician Dr. Noah Miller to our team. We are currently accepting new patients and same-day appointments are available. If you're admitted into the hospital, our doctors will see you there as well. Most insurance and Medicare are accepted. The Clinics on North Bolton, 445-9823, and online at theclinics.us.
Got a big day ahead of you? Then it's best to fuel up with some of Cenla's best at Bricato's restaurant. Walk right in and just smell that home-style cooking. Place your order, take a seat, and do breakfast right till 9:30 this morning. Get fresh biscuits, eggs any way you like them, melt-in-your-mouth pancakes, grits, hash browns, sausage, bacon, even wraps and sandwiches. And don't forget their fresh brewed coffee. Bricato's Restaurant, 28 West, right across from the Coliseum. Your breakfast is waiting for you.
970 AM, 104.9 FM, KSYO. Now back to Talkback.
Welcome back to Talkback. We're in the final segment, and we've got a caller on the line. Good morning, sir. Our good morning, caller. You're on Talkback with Stephen and Nathan.
Good morning, Nathan.
Hello there.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Yes, sir.
But so teaching and preaching have something in common. They're both kind of a calling.
That's true. That's a good point.
In fact, many of the, well, I mean, if you think about it, pastoring is a form of teaching. So,
sure. That's true.
Neither one. We'll point out something that, in general, now not, of course, at the college and collegiate level and all that, but in general, there's been a whole lot of women because teaching is not a very high-paying job. So unless both parents are teachers, you almost pretty much have to have a double income family there, and also and that women can do once their kids start school. Historically, we just have had way more teachers be women.
Right.
Although I will point out that it has caused some problems too.
Are you talking about some of the extracurricular involvements that have taken place?
Well, funny you mentioned that. It used to be young men who were teachers got themselves in trouble with 16 and 17-year-old girls
right.
at school. Now it's almost like the worm has turned, and you have to wonder what in the world were these women? Some of them in their 30s doing this. What were they?
Yeah. Yeah, and you do scratch your head sometimes when you see that. And but I certainly agree with you that teaching is a calling. We lived next door to a teacher for many years who still is a teacher. One of the most amazing people I know, who definitely earns her money plus some with all the hours that she puts in at home, in addition to her hours in the classroom, and then throw in the field trips and the chaperone things that she does and the extracurricular, so much stuff that she does. And she's a science teacher. I guarantee I know her students, we're going to look back on her with great appreciation for the way that she's invested in their life. Another teacher in our church had been a top math teacher for over 30 years. And just pours herself into those kids. It is a calling. There's no way I could do that the way that they pour themselves into and then start over every single year with a fresh batch.
Now, I'll tell you, my father retired as a high school principal, and both of my daughters, my youngest daughter, she has her degree, a teaching degree. She's keeping her kids at home. But oldest daughter,
I hate to say it, you're cutting out on us there. I don't know if it's a Bluetooth issue or if it's a cell phone issue.
Okay, can you hear me better?
That is better. So good. You're telling us, is it your daughter you were saying has the
yeah,
certificate,
my
but she's
oldest
staying
daughter. It's really kind of funny. She started off she got her degree in vet tech, which is basically a doggy nurse, and then she was asked by the school system to come in and teach. So she's now getting her certifications and she's teaching pre-K.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
I told her, I said, well, you went from handling cats and dogs to pre-Ks.
Trying to herd cats pretty much now.
I was thinking the same thing, Stephen.
Yep.
It
takes a very special
good
person
day.
to be a good pre-K teacher.
Boy, you're not kidding.
Takes a very patient person.
Yeah. Thank you, caller. Appreciate that. As we wrap up the show today, I wanted to give a shout out, perhaps, I'm not sure what the right term, but a gratitude to the Alexandria Police Department who made an arrest in that fatal hit and run crash that took the life of the Ash baseball player. You did a story on that, and that loss has just devastated the entire Ash community.
It's awful.
One student was killed, another student injured, and gentleman, 45-year-old Julius Layfield, was taken into custody yesterday in reference to his involvement in that fatal hit and run crash that took place on Tuesday. And so Police Chief Chad Grimion said the men and women of the Alexandria Police Department worked with urgency and determination to bring this case to a close through close coordination with our partners at Louisiana State Police, the support of our community, and the use of the latest law enforcement technology. Officers were able to identify the suspect vehicle and make an arrest within 12 hours. Tragically, the victims were struck by a drunk driver, underscoring the serious and often unpredictable dangers surrounding these incidents. The investigation does continue, but gratitude to the APD for releasing that information and making that arrest so quickly.
I do want to say that, and this comes just a day or two ahead of what's called the LV 5K. This weekend, it's the Lauren Vaughn 5K, who was an Ash student and was killed due to a drunk driver as well.
Goodness.
So I know her mother just posted, who owns Little Cakes in Alexandria and Pineville, saying that they're going to be also walking in memory of the 16-year-old boy who was killed. And you're just seeing the pictures. I know KLB has the pictures up and some videos of him playing baseball as a child.
Right.
As an Ash student, it breaks your heart, and it really just tears you up, and you feel bad for the Ash community and, of course, his family and friends. And please just keep him in your prayers. I just couldn't imagine.
It's going to be a difficult Easter for this family who's going to have to hold on to the promise of the resurrection to get them through that difficult season. Last little note, Rapides Parish Journal reports that the Louisiana State Penitentiary Museum Foundation is announcing Judge Lauren Lampert of the 9th JDC will be among the 2026 inductees to the Louisiana Justice Hall of Fame. You might say, well, he's only been a judge for a couple of years, but he's been in law enforcement for over 3 decades. Let me say criminal justice, not law enforcement, criminal justice. He was a police officer. He was a chief of police for the city of Alexandria. And then he went on to be a felony prosecutor for 27 years and the executive director of the Louisiana District Attorneys Association. So what a great choice, a man that I think we all respect and admire, and congratulations, Judge Lampert.
Yeah, such a nice guy.
Well, that wraps it up for this week. No more shows until Monday when Uncle Al will be back, and he'll fix all the problems I've created for him on the board. Everybody, hope you have a wonderful and safe Easter. God bless you all, and celebrate the resurrection.
You've been listening to Talkback. The opinions expressed were those of the hosts and callers.